Hello and welcome back to Authentically Shawna. I'm your host, Dr. Shawna Burke. Today, I wanted to talk about the concept of being a victim. And it's a concept that has come up in the past couple of weeks with a couple different people who are working with me, meaning I'm currently playing the role of client or patient. And I want to talk about this idea because it's a tough one to digest. And I was saying that from personal experience. And I want to talk about my own experience in that and what it looks like to have a different, I'm going to say, perspective. And so when I'm saying playing the role of being a victim this is me. I was driving to school and a car hit me. And this accident that I was in, or on purpose that I was in, whatever word we want to use, completely changed the trajectory of my health and life. And is very easy to fall into the category of somebody did this to me and it is their fault. And now I'm left to pick up the pieces because this one person wasn't paying attention and drove into me. And well, some of that I think is truth, right? Like there's nothing that I could do. I watched a person, I knew that person was going to hit me. I watched her drive into me. And in order for me to move forward, I had to decide that it was now my responsibility to heal. And that is really difficult when you feel crappy. It is really difficult to pick yourself up and say, I'm not going to let myself be victimized by what happened, even though it is very easy to, and I'm saying this like this is me saying this. It's so easy to say like this was not something that I asked for. This is not something that I planned, and this is happening to me. And I'm going to say those are, if we're talking about energy and energy frequency, those are low energy. And I'm going to tell you, it is hard to heal when you're in a low energy state. And, I was having a conversation with Bill, who was my partner this weekend, my lab partner, matrix repatterning. Oh yeah, I forget that I'm still in Canada. So this will be like week 6 and you're like, this girl is still in Canada. So yeah, Bill and I had this conversation, and my friend and coach Melina and I had this same conversation a couple weeks ago because another fender bender. I was literally sitting at a red light in California, going from one house to the next. I'm sitting at a red light and the car behind me hits me. And I'm like, my gosh, I'm doing everything in my power to heal from this original incident and someone hits me. And it's so easy again to be like, I'm just trying to drive and cars keep hitting me. And again, I think it's very easy to go into I'm a victim. This is happening to me. I feel really blessed that I have people in my life who catch me when I say things and are really upfront and honest with me about how my languaging sounds and who I'm being through my words and actions. And I want to say that is difficult to sometimes hear the feedback of who I'm being and how I'm showing up in the world. And I think that then on the other side is I also have the hat of being a doctor of physical therapy and seeing people who have injury and seeing people who have also been in accidents and the role that they're playing in that. And sorry, that was me moving my chair. I have one patient in particular right now who was in a accident, and because of the accident, he had to get his hip replaced. And his mindset is that this accident is going to set him up financially for the future and that he is never going to return to his prior level of function. And which is fine if that's what you want to do. Like I can't convince you otherwise. Like if that's the limiting belief that you have set up for yourself, that you aren't going to recover all the way, like as a practitioner, as someone who's helping coach you through movement, like that is not my, I'm going to say, that energetic roadblock that you've put up around yourself to say like, I won't heal past this point. And again, like that's that person's choice. And the conversation that Bill and I were having was, as a practitioner, what's our role in this? And so I'm like having like multiple conversations in my own head while I'm trying to say what I'm trying to say, which is everyone who is here seeking help in whatever capacity that is, like as a practitioner, with my practitioner hat on, I can only meet you where you're willing to be met. And as client or patient, someone who's receiving care, I can only get better up to how much I believe that I can. And there's so much mental math that I think I've done on the patient end and on the practitioner end. And how do I lovingly tell people that they're putting up barriers? Can they receive that, first of all? Are they willing to be coached in that respect? Yeah, I sometimes really struggle with that, especially working in the insurance model, is there's very much so a mentality, or I'm gonna say a stigma, that insurance, like if you're an insurance client, that you're only going to get better to a point because that's kind of how the system works. And that's also your mentality that like, you know, paid into this system. And so this is what I deserve. And I'm just going to say another example. So I have a patient right now who told me that she really wants to be able to, she's in her mid 70s, and she really wants to be able to get up and down off the floor. That's a really big deal to her, which I think that's a great goal considering the, her history of low back pain and hip pain. Like that is her goal, is to be able to get up and down off the floor. And, I think that one of my strong suits is to give people prescriptive exercise, right? I'm prescribing exercise for a reason. And I'm giving it in bite-sized chunks and then putting it all together. And so every time I give her a new exercise, she argues with me about why she shouldn't be doing that exercise. And it's like, how much do I argue with this person who doesn't want to be doing the exercise because she has such a self-limiting belief around movement? It's hard for her to see the big picture. And as a practitioner, I know it's also my role to tell people like, hey, we're doing this exercise in order for you to be able to do this, right? And so several weeks have gone by. I didn't really know how to say this politely. Sometimes I just say things sort of in a joking way that doesn't come out harsh. But we were doing an exercise that really mimics the idea of getting up and down off the floor from a kneeling position. And she was just like, why do I have to do this? This is so hard. And she does it 3 times. And then all of a sudden she has this light bulb moment of, I understand that we're doing this because I told you that I wanted to get up and down off the floor. And she has this moment of like clarity that I'm not just randomly assigning her this exercise, that it is a part of her personal goals, and that she can now see that my intention is to help her get up and down off the floor. But she had to go through her own self-limiting beliefs that she couldn't do this. This exercise is stupid. Why is this person making me do this? And she had to go through this whole belief system, this whole habit track of arguing with whatever I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter what I say, she has a counter argument and argues with me no matter what I'm saying. And as soon as I called her out on it, uh, and said, like, do you realize that every time I give you something in order to help you, there's an argument? She was like, I didn't realize that that was how I was reacting. And I think some of us become so unconscious to our own habits and our own brain patterns and thoughts that we don't even realize that we are putting ourselves in that same victimhood, right? That like, I'm never gonna be able to do this. I can't do this. And then even when someone tries to help you and coach you in it, you're still like, blah, 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 blah. Like you still have this big dialogue in your head telling you why you can or can't do something. And I think there's several people who talk about this work. Joe Dispenza is one of them. I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. He wrote the book, The Biology of Belief. Oh my gosh, I can't believe my brain is blanking on me. I'm gonna Google search it while I'm sitting here. And the idea is we have a lot of Bruce Lipton. There we go. Bruce Lipton wrote The Biology of Belief. And we have these subconscious thoughts that have really come into our existence through this time period in our lives, which people kind of qualify as ages 0 to 6, where you're just kind of picking up and perceiving everything around you. From age 0 to 6, you're like a sponge and you're just picking up all the habits of the adults and probably your siblings. I don't know. I don't have any, but like you're just picking up the habits of everyone around you. And then those habits become so ingrained that they're your program. And we all run on habits, which is brilliant and beautiful in a lot of ways because if we had to think about how we did everything, we could never get anything done. But I think a lot of the victimhood and the inability to move forward is us not even knowing that we have these subconscious programming. And I really think not that I don't think you could help yourself, but I think at least for me, it's been really helpful to have people outside of me say, "Hey, did you know that that's how you're sounding? Did you know that like when you speak, this is what it sounds like?" And I I'm saying this because this has been a really difficult lesson for me to learn, and I've learned it a lot of times. And so I'm hoping by saying it out loud, it helps me to alchemize all of the times when I've played victim, and it's a way for me to talk about it because I just don't think that it gets spoken about a lot. I think on if I'm putting again my doctor hat back on, I think it's really easy to like sit around and complain about people and be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this person. They just don't want to get better." And it's so frustrating that like I keep trying to help them and they're not listening. And I'm sure some of that is the lessons that they came here to learn. And client or patient perspective, it's really hard when you don't even know that that's what you sound like. And so, yeah, I feel like there's this kind of like miss, this loss in translation-ness that kind of happens. And yeah, I want to really speak to that because I've definitely been on both ends of this conversation. And I think there's lots of ways address this. And so I'll tell you that for me, a couple of the things that have been really helpful for me to pinpoint or to figure out when falling into that state is to, again, talk to somebody else. It's for me very difficult to realize that I'm back in an old habit and an old pattern and an old way of thinking. And I can say that while I've been here in Canada, I have started doing Joe Dispenza's morning and nighttime meditations. And this was recommended to me by Dr. Russell at Dr. Bergman's office. He was like, "I think you would really enjoy doing these meditations. They really helped me shift in a lot of ways." So aside from talking to someone, which I've been speaking with Melina about this a lot, and what is my energy to show up in the world and how am I showing up in the world? And then my homework on my end, which I've been doing here, is I've been doing Joe Dispenza's morning meditation. And a part of the meditation is for you to, this is morning and evening. And kind of like the big theme is noticing your habits when you fall unconscious and when you fall back into these old habits. And for me, I fall back into the habit, especially while I'm here, of like, okay, so what if I'm like not all the way better? Okay, so then what's my plan for when I'm not all the way better? That when I get back home, I'm going to see this and this person, and then and then I'm going to do this and this treatment, and then I'm gonna blah, 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 blah. And I just kind of go on this big trail of what ifs, and here's all the things that I'm going to try to do to get better. And it's like, okay, hold your horses. That's you falling back into an older pattern of you. And okay, so instead of doing that, can I appreciate how I'm feeling now? And can I appreciate how much growth I've had in the past week and how much things have shifted for me in the past week? And then my brain goes, but Shawna, what if you need to come back to Toronto? And then you're gonna need to see Dr. Roth because he's the best and blah, 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 blah. And then this whole other like diatribe argument that my brain does with me. And so uh been conscious that that is my habit while I've been here. And that's sort of how I'm playing the victim is like, I need to be a patient and I need to get better. And that this like almost like over willingness to want to heal. And I'm probably being a little harsh on myself, which I think we all are, right? But and I absolutely believe that I will heal and like in this really beautiful place right now. But I think there is this habit that keeps me small and needing. And I've been learning in this past week of how to know that that is a voice in my head that can be very loud and very persuasive. And I'm not saying it's not good to plan ahead and to have goals and to work towards something. But I think that voice gets very loud and very dominant. And yeah, it's been really interesting for me to take a step outside of that and say, okay, that is just a little voice box that's like gonna keep going and it's just gonna keep yammering and keep planning. And that voice is always gonna want more. And I am really excited to jump back into my everyday life. I leave the Toronto area tomorrow. Yeah, my intention is to keep doing the morning and evening meditations and just to keep myself aware of where and when I fall back into an old pattern. And for me, that's kind of how I'm working on my victimhood. These old patterns that are keeping me small and keeping me outside of being the biggest and most expanded version of myself. And so I want to say that this is not something that's easy to really look at our own habits. And again, I feel like I'm doing this with other people and doing things on my own. And I just want to encourage anyone who's going through their own healing process at the moment to say, like, good on you. And like, thank you for showing up to do the work on yourself. Thank you for like noticing your habits because it is so easy to live an unconscious life. And thank you for tuning in to yourself and for trying something that is probably very far outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, if I can offer any resources or advice, it would be to find someone who can help you sort through your thoughts and do some homework on your own. And there's lots of ways to do that. And so for me right now, again, I'm doing Joe Dispenza's morning and evening meditations and working with my friend Milena. Yeah, I feel complete. That's something that I really like, this idea of saying when you feel complete in a conversation. So I feel really complete in this conversation. If you want to sponsor the podcast, I would love to uh, accept. And one way you can do that is to DM me at Dr. Shawna Burke. That's at DrShawnaBerk. You can DM me a hair quiz. I will send you a quiz that will help you figure out what's going on with your scalp and hair health. It's through a company called Monat, Monat. And I've been using their shampoo and conditioner for the past couple of months. I have naturally wavy hair, which in my 20s, I've loved my hair. And the past couple of years, my hair has just been flat and frizzy, and my scalp has been flaky and itchy. And I'm seeing such a big difference in my hair and its bounce and its wave back. And I'm just so excited because I really do like my hair and I'm so excited to have that natural wave. You're listening to Authentically Shawna with Dr. Shawna Burke. The information contained in this podcast is provided for information purposes only and is not intended for the purposes of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products or techniques referred in this podcast, consult your healthcare provider. Individuals on this podcast may have direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein.